Alright, hello. In today's video, we're going to be doing a KIsuke showcase and build guide. KIsuke is probably the best unit in the game right now. He is super versatile and can fit into any team and any typing. His buffs are really good, and on top of that, he has little field time, which is what you want for a support. You kind of want them to get their buffs off and get out of there so that you can switch to your tactic or your full assault unit. KIsuke is especially great for things like guild quests and co-op campaign. Yes, there are other supports like Momo, Yachiru, Nemu who are good supports for their respective typing, but even in their respective typing, KIsuke does perform better. The only time you'll ever use a support other than KIsuke is usually for Frenzy Feast. Okay, so let's talk about his kit. His kit is pretty simple. His technique, he places down a portable Gigai that kind of acts as a vortex and sucks people into the middle. His special attack is he backs up and does a long range sword wave, and he can stack 2 of these so he can do it twice. And his ultimate, he fires a spiritual bullet at the enemy which deals damage, but most importantly gives crit damage to the whole team. He gives a fixed amount plus 40% of his own crit damage. So you could imagine that KIsuke, you want a lot of crit damage for him. But the most important part about KIsuke's kit is his passive. Because with his passive, whenever KIsuke releases his special attack, his technique, his ultimate, or a counter attack, he gains 1 stack of ratio analysis. And every stack of ratio analysis increases the whole team's attack by 10%. Now, this can stack up to 3 times, but if you do have the weapon stamp, which I recommend pulling for, it does increase the maximum of ratio analysis up to 6, so that's a 60% attack boost to the whole team. Now with KIsuke, I would say the weapon stamp is very much needed, but the core stamp, not so much. KIsuke's core stamp doesn't really, at least for what we're using him for, doesn't really help him all that much, because his core stamp doesn't really affect his buffing at all. But it is nice to have if you can get it. Now, an important thing to keep in mind about the passives are the passive boost. Specifically, the passive boost 1 and passive boost 2. When it comes to passive boost 1, it boosts the spiritual pressure gain whenever you release a technique. You want to max this out, because if you don't have it maxed out, you'll notice that whenever you press your technique, you will only gain 1 special attack. But if you do have it maxed out, whenever you do hit that technique button, you will gain 2 charges of your special attack, which is what you want so that you can stack up your ratio analysis quick. And then the other important boost is boost number 2, which increases the ultimate energy charge rate. With this maxed out, and no ultimate charge rate on any of your stamps, if you hit your technique and then follow it up with the double special attacks, if you hit all 3 of those, you will always get your ultimate. So you definitely want this maxed out as well. And then as for passive boost 3, it's not really as necessary. It just increases KIsuke's ultimate damage every time you do a special attack. It's not needed, but it is nice to have just to get a little bit more damage off of your KIsuke. Okay, with the kit out of the way, let's talk about his build. Now remember, with his ultimate, he gives crit damage to the whole team based on how much crit damage he has. So his build is pretty simple. We just want to get as much crit damage as possible. So for the first stamp, you want to have slash damage, attack percentage, or attack flat as the basic stat. Either of the 3 will work. For the second stamp, you want crit damage period. And for the third stamp, you could do attack percentage or attack flat. Now, on the third one here, if you don't have the second passive maxed out on KIsuke, having ultimate charge rate here as a basic stat is pretty good as a temporary placeholder, but I do recommend that once you do have the second passive maxed out, switch this over to an attack basic stat just to get more damage off of your KIsuke. And as for the advanced stat or the substats, pretty simple again. crit damage is your #1 priority. You want to have crit damage on all of your substats on all your stamps, and if you can, have them upgraded. And then afterwards, you would go for attack percentage or attack flat, crit rate, and then ultimate charge rate. Those would be the 4 stats you would be looking for, with crit damage being your #1 priority. And as for KIsuke's gameplay and rotations, it's pretty simple. There isn't really much variety in his combo. His bread and butter is just the technique into the double special attack. And then if you hit all 3 of those, you can then follow it up with an ultimate. Right? And then afterwards, after you have all your buffs up, then you can just switch to any of your other characters. Some things to keep in mind while playing with KIsuke is his actual buffs at the bottom there. As you can see, there's 2 icons. The 6 is the ratio analysis, and the red one is his ult crit damage buff. You want to keep an eye on those buffs, and a good tip to know, I'll pause it here. A good tip to know is whenever his ultimate damage buff here, which shows up as this icon, whenever this gets to 1/4 and below, that's a good indication that you should switch back to KIsuke, because by that time, your ultimate will be up again so that you can do your bread and butter technique into double special and ult again and re-up the buff before it goes away. Another thing to keep in mind with KIsuke is if you have boundary 2 on him, you always want to make sure to hit your technique. As with B2 KIsuke, if you hit people with the technique, the enemies will take 15% more damage. So you want to keep that in mind as well. But aside from that, that's pretty much everything you need to know about KIsuke as a unit. If you don't have him already, I would recommend definitely pulling for him. If you're a new player and you have the selector for your premium banner, and by the time you fill it up, you don't have KIsuke, I would definitely recommend using it on KIsuke. And even if you already have KIsuke, I would still recommend going for dupes, at least until B2. But that is pretty much about it. I hope you guys enjoyed and learned something. I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.